In a major ruling about the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld Obamacare subsidies in states like North Carolina that did not set up Obamacare exchanges, but instead send their residents to the federal Obamacare exchange to get those subsidies. With reaction to this ruling, I'm joined by Katherine Restrepo, Health and Human Services Analyst for the John Locke Foundation. Katherine, you have been following this case, King versus Burwell. We now have the ruling. Your reaction?
Yes, well, as I've been writing about this issue for a long time, I did firmly believe that health insurance subsidies, by looking at the plain text of the law, were limited to state-established exchanges. And so this morning, the U.S. Supreme Court did rule in a 6-3 ruling favoring the government that subsidies shall be distributed in both federal and state exchanges. So, I would have been a little surprised if they did rule in favor of the plaintiffs. So, at the same time, it is a little disappointing.
Why is it disappointing to you, Katherine?
Because if you look at the plain text of the law, it clearly limits health insurance subsidies to state exchanges. However, the justices do have to interpret the text as a harmonious whole, and they cannot look at certain parts of the law in isolation. So that is probably one of the ways as to which they came to a conclusion.
North Carolina did not set up an exchange. So what does this mean for our state?
Right. So this means that these subsidies are upheld, and the IRS has not overstepped its legal bounds, as the plaintiffs of King argued, by distributing taxpayer money into federal exchanges, which essentially are subsidies for eligible individuals who purchase individual market plans.
Those people in North Carolina who now have subsidies, then are they affected at all by this ruling?
No, they will not be affected. The subsidy flow will continue. However, I would like to say that, regardless of the ruling on this case, this certainly still is a huge talking point and paves the way for discussion for the 2017 election if there's a Republican president, and for Congress to still talk about ways where health insurance can be affordable for the majority of individuals. Right now, these subsidies really only benefit a minority at the expense of the majority.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, Katherine. What would you recommend as the next step now that we have this ruling?
Sure. Well, there are really three schools of thought on this. Some Republicans say we should completely repeal it, start from scratch, but the most politically feasible way really would maybe to offer some type of maybe a universal exchange, and maybe liberalize these exchanges in the sense where products can be sold that are more flexible to consumer preferences and medical needs and their demands, rather than offering mandated health insurance benefits that may not necessarily be in the best interest of consumers. So that is one way that health insurance can be more competitive, and it can be more flexible, and that way insurance companies can compete and attract more patients on their risk pools rather than being mandated.
Katherine, those principles that you believe that any reform should be grounded in are what?
Not to mandate individuals to purchase a product that may not be in their best interest. And I think that free markets can work to add competition to enhance patient choice without having to force mandates and regulations upon people that make the health insurance industry, the second most heavily regulated industry, even more expensive.
Katherine Restrepo is the Health and Human Services Policy Analyst for the John Locke Foundation. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you.